L'chaim v'livracha, to life and to blessings to everyone. We begin chapter 1. Chapter 1 will be a springboard for the 52 other chapters of Tanya. We're at a beginning, and all beginnings are special because when you get in on the beginning, you're on the springboard. You can spring off the diving board very high, and through going very high, guess what? You dive down very deep. So you get the opportunity when you come in on the beginning to go very high, but the whole point to go very high is in order to be able to bring it very deep inside of us, very deep inside of our family, friends, communities, the world, the teachings of the Tanya. So blessed are we that are here to begin together in chapter 1. So we could take these teachings, the Alter Rebbe, author of the Tanya, over 200 years ago, this book was written, and it is more pertinent today. You could say perhaps than in the day that it was written.
It's
More pertinent, its teachings.
prophecy.
More than ever, because back in the day, there was a path that you could take, perhaps. You could say there was a path that you could take that would also bring you up high, that you could dig deep, not in the same manner, but today this is the only path to take, to be able to reach to the heights and to bring it to the very depths of our very soul, our very being. It's the only path.
Why is that?
Because after 53 chapters, we'll find out.
Why was it easier 200 years ago than it is today? Because there's
They-
more distractions.
There's more distractions now. There's more darkness now. Therefore, we need greater light today than back then. They needed it then, and the proof that they needed it then is because the Alter Rebbe was told on high that you got to disseminate these teachings. You have to make sure that these teachings will reach to the broadest audience. But in those days, there was still a greater light in the hearts and souls of individuals. Today, that light is more dimmed because the world is darker and the effect of the world is upon us. What's the proof that there's an effect of the world? Is that you can have in the palm of your hand something that's called a smartphone that gives you access to the entire world. Literally. You didn't have that 200 years ago. 200 years ago, when a yeshuvnik, a simple farmer, had to travel from his village, and he went 10 kilometers with his horse and buggy, and he would ask, "Are we still in Russia?" He says, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." Then he would travel another 10 kilometers. "Are we still in Russia?" "Yes." "Oh, wow, what a mighty Caesar, the Tsar of Russia, rather. Look at that." And all he went was 20 kilometers. Well, with your phone, the entire universe is literally moments away from you, right? Which can be a very negative
Getting
thing.
faster, by the way.
And it's getting faster,
Or
right?
shorter.
So
Shorter
to
time.
combat the negative forces that are around us, all the more we need Tanya, and therefore all the more it's important that all of us continue and join in the journey together. Welcome to Tanya today. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zich and Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. We begin chapter one. Chapter one in one word, nishamis. Nishama means soul. Nishamais means plural for souls, two souls. And that's what we will come out from the first chapter is the basis that we got two souls. And from there, we will learn about the godly soul, chapter 2 through 5, and then the animal soul, chapter 6 through 8. And then from there, we will continue in the journey. All right. The first word of this book is Tanya, which means we have learned. Beside Per Gimel Nida, in the end of the third chapter of the tractate of Nida, Mashbi Moisai, that before the soul comes into this world, you're administered an oath.
What's Tanya mean?
It's been we have learned.
We've learned. Thank you.
We have learned,
Wow, good beginning. Thank you.
right? Tanya also, if you take the word, the letters and turn them around, it spells the word Eitan or Asan, which means strength, the strength of the soul, and also means Eitan, the strength of Klipa, of negativity. So Tanya is here to teach on how you can break the negative force within us and within the world through these teachings. Okay?
Yeah.
So what? Oh, you're administered an oath, meaning you're given an empowerment before you come into this world. Because after all, you come into this world, as we just mentioned, it's pretty, shall we say, a scary place, if you will. It's daunting. In order to stay on the straight and narrow, to be aligned with the divine, not so easy. So what are you administered in heaven? The charge is you should be righteous and not to be wicked. And even if the entire world will tell you that you are righteous in your own estimation, in your own eyes, consider yourself like the wicked.
Humility?
Huh? 1 second. That's what the teachings is, right?
Okay.
Now we need to understand, says the Alter Rebbe, that this is a contradiction from a brisa to a Mishnah. The Mishnah says in Pirkei Avos, in the ethics of our fathers, ethical teachings, that you should not be wicked in your own estimation. So we just said, consider yourself like wicked. And now we just said, don't be wicked in your own estimation. Contradiction. Not only is it a contradiction in teachings, but it's also a contradiction in conceptually. That you should consider yourself like wicked will get you to be what? Right. Down on yourself. And you might even become depressed. And then you won't be able to serve God with joy. And we know we need to serve God with joy. Right? You need to serve God with joy. On the other hand, you can't just be full of joy and not to be grieved when you do anything wrong. But the main temperament a person needs is joy. You're going to consider yourself as wicked? Does it make sense to other teachings in the Torah? So that's our first question. It will be answered chapter 13 and 14. We'll get to, and chapters 29 and 34, we'll get some of the answers. We'll get the answers, rather. But however, the matter is like this. Remember, this is just a springboard for the discussion. Right? This is the gateway to go into discussing the various things that we mentioned, right? So what is the matter is like this. The Talmud tells us like this. Hey chalukos, there are 5 different types of people. Tzadik v'toivloi, a righteous, it's good for him. Tzadik v'raloi, a righteous person who is, so that a righteous person materially is good for them. Righteous person that it's materially not good for them. An evil person that is materially good for them. Evil person materially it's not good for them. And a Beinani. intermediate person. The Gemara explains, what does it mean, righteous? So why is the one that is prosperous? Why? Because he's a complete tzaddik. Spiritually, he's complete. So materially, he is also complete. The one who's incomplete, because he's incomplete as a righteous person. So materially, he's also incomplete. He doesn't prosper in the same manner. Right? As the Talmud continues, or sorry, in the Zohar also brings this about the 5 different types. And there it says, a righteous person who suffers, I mean, who is and suffers means that his evil nature is subservient to his good nature, right? He has no evil in any expression, but there is some kind of vestige of evil that is deep down in the heart that will not express itself in any way. A complete righteous person is someone who doesn't have that at all. Now, then he quotes again, the Alter Rebbe quotes from the Talmud, says that the righteous are judged, motivated, and ruled by their good nature. The wicked are judged and motivated and ruled by their evil nature. Intermediate person is judged by both good and evil nature, which in chapter 13, 14, we'll explain what that means. It continues the Talmud and says, Rabbah, who was the greatest in his generation, he declared, for example, I'm a Beinani, I'm this intermediate individual. Abaya, his student, said to him, Master, you make it impossible for any creature to live. Was that why? Because if you're only intermediate, that means we're wicked. We're lesser than you. And the wicked are called the living dead because they get their life from a dead place, meaning from klipa, the negative force. That's a dead place, right? Not truly alive, right? So that's quoting the Talmud. So the Alter Rebbe says we have to understand what's going on over here. How could Rabbah, the greatest in his generation, talking about an amazing, holy individual, how could he make a mistake of himself that thinks he's intermediate, or like he had half merits and half demerits, half good, half bad, intermediate? We need to understand. Further, we need to understand Job. Ew. Remember Job? Says, Lord of the universe, you have created righteous men and you've created wicked men. Really now? God doesn't decree who's going to be righteous, who's going to be wicked. The bottom line of Judaism is freedom of choice. So how could you say that God creates the wicked and he creates the righteous? To say that God creates a smart person, a foolish person, a tall person, a short person, a strong person, a weak person, that's predetermined, but not good and bad. That's a choice that we have. So how do we understand that? Further, we need to understand what's the essential nature of the Beinani. Remember the Beinani? This is called the book of the Beinani, of the intermediate. By the way, just to remind everybody who we are BITs, Beinani in training. Okay? How could Rabbah err in himself to think he is merely a Beinani intermediate individual? Who was this person? He was so holy that the angel of death came to bring him upstairs and couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. You know why? Because whenever you're aligned with the divine, every moment that you're aligned with the divine, the angel of death cannot have dominion over you. There had to be a rustle in the bushes that he took away his attention, and that's when he passed away. He took away and he wasn't mindful in that moment in his divine connection, and that's when his soul was taken away.
And that's when he was abandoning.
No, no, but that's the question. How could he make a mistake in himself and consider himself to be a Beinoni when he was such a lofty person that was aligned with the divine, whether learning Torah, prayer, doing acts of loving kindness, mindful, totally, completely aligned every single moment?
Because he wasn't a complete tzaddik.
No, you just heard we just said that's a complete tzaddik. How could he make such a mistake? Because someone, right, someone who sins until he repents is considered wicked. Why? Because you have a stain on your shirt, right? If you have a nice clean white shirt and you have a stain on it, what's that called? A dirty shirt. That's called a person that has dirt on their soul. If they don't own it and deal with it, the stain remains, right? On the other hand, if you own it and deal with it and you do tshuva, what are you then?
Right.
Righteous. So what's this level of a Beinoni?
What
You listen to what we're saying first. And then, right? What's this level of a Beinoni? Where does it come to play? If you've got dirt, that means you've got a stain on your soul. That's called wickedness. Doesn't mean you're Attila the Hun. It just means that there's negativity on your soul. And that's a stain. It needs to be cleansed. If you cleansed it by repentance, then it's a clean white shirt, then you're righteous. So what's going on over here? How do we understand this, right? And you can't say that Rabbah neglected his study of Torah because he never neglected it. He didn't do anything. So how could he make such a mistake in himself? In a footnote, the Alter Rebbe says that there are 70 different ways to understand everything in the Torah. And even this idea of what it means, righteous, can be understood in many different ways. But here, he's taking it in the true depth of the understanding of the concept. Yes, Shimon Lev, you had a question. Hi.
Yeah, I was going to ask why use the word wicked, which has an implication of I
Negativity.
mean, it has more than an implication of
Of
negativity.
negativity, right.
It has an implication that you're completely on the wrong side of goodness.
Yes.
A person is either good, let's say, or bad, and wickedness implies badness. And
So that's why
a person who's who doesn't follow all of Torah, for example, why would he be considered a bad person or wicked?
well, I have a
Wicked
better
is
I have a
someone-
I have a better question for you. Even someone who follows the Torah, right? And they spoke lashon hara, right? Or they wasted time, right? Right? Rabbah didn't waste a moment's time, right? So you waste time. That's a stain on your soul. You say something ill about another person that is uncalled for. That's a stain on the soul.
But does that make a person wicked?
Well, so what's that?
I
What?
just have a problem with the
I
word wicked.
yes, that's why I forewarned it earlier. It does not make you Attila the Hun, right? But what it does do. So let's not use the English word because that's a trigger for too many people
Right.
to trigger. Let's use.
Come up with a better word. That's a good idea.
Let's use the Hebrew word Russia.
Russia.
You're a Russia.
You
A Russia means someone who has a stain on their soul and did not deal with it. And the stain remains there. Stain doesn't get removed until you wash it off your clothes. So the same thing, the stain on the soul doesn't get removed until you deal with it, own it, and cleanse it by doing tshuva, right?
BIT, so
Okay.
Russia.
A BIT is yes.
Thank you.
because
And
you're not yet a Beinoni.
Can you clean that shirt so that the stain is completely and totally gone, so you don't,
That's where we're here. But now, I just
That's
want
the
to
problem.
give good context to this. Since we are Hasidim, and what's the proof? You're here. You're Hasidim. Hasidim are concerned about how to better serve God rather than saving our soul, believe it or not. In other words, other faiths and other forms of even Jewish practice, they're concerned about, I got to save my soul. And that's what I'm concerned about. And so I'm only doing what I'm doing, so I shouldn't get punishment. Punishment in this world, punishment in the world to come, right? And most people actually are motivated by that. Most people, right? They're motivated because they don't want to have pain from something. So they don't engage, so they won't get the pain. They don't do something bad, so they won't have something painful that will come thereafter. That's not not a chassid. Chassid is concerned about fulfilling their purpose, what God needs from them, not just looking
In this life.
in this life, exactly, and not looking merely to save their soul. Now,
But it
we don't
also-
want to be disconnected and to lose our soul, in any manner, right? For sure. So, what category we're in, where we are holding in our lives, the most important thing is that we're growing in our connection to God, in our fulfillment of Torah mitzvahs, that we're growing. That's what counts. So, I might still have a stain on my shirt and I may not have dealt with everything I need to. And you know, don't worry, Shimon Lev, you'll be in good company. I'll join you.
That's not profession.
Oh, and by-
Chaim
You think
l'chaim
I've had enough
livracha.
after 25 years?
Uh, okay.
Sorry.
Listen,
opened
Shimon Lev.
yourself up
What does it mean in wicked? God's eyes and our eyes. I don't know what that means. God's eyes and our eyes. Wicked is Russia. Ricky means there's a stain on the soul. If you dealt with the stain, then you cleansed it. That's tshuva. Yeah. Jeffrey, where's your question? Was there a question mark before?
So Baba was his uncle. He was a tzaddik. He was different.
How could he make such a mistake? So we're going to learn later on how Rabbah made such a mistake about himself. We'll learn that in chapter 14.
But the Zohar talks about credits and debits, Rabbi. Credits and debits. And the credits and debits, if you have a stain on your soul, then you essentially have a debit. And if you can clean your soul, then you wipe
can
it
even
off. You
not only
get
wipe it off, but you
credit.
can even
The
make it into a
question is-
credit.
The question that I've asked many times in my life is, can you completely, although you can clean a shirt that is completely clean and there's no evidence of soiling, can you clean your soul to the point where there's no evidence of debit?
So after
And with that,
53
I
chapters,
must go because I have a
after
commitment.
53 chapters, we'll find out.
All right.
The righteous man.
Okay. Is it acceptable to rebuke, expose a continuously evil person in public? Expose them. Not maybe not.
I gotta do
Depends.
two, but now.
That's a good question, and we can deal with that in TRC on Thursday, 4 p.m.
Thursday?
Yeah, but
4 p.m. It used to be an 8 sometime.
all right, folks. Amazing.
Okay.
We started chapter 1. We will conclude it tomorrow. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine coming to you from Chabad Zurich Kadesh in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Have an amazing, great day. Thank you all for joining. A reminder, Hanukkah is coming. Get your candles and menorahs ready. And in